Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another staring at, one that's a little bit different than my usual staring ats, because I just got back from watching Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They weren't aliens! They weren't aliens. So, that was a thing going on it. But basically, what happened was, I got back from watching it. I got back from watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I went into it after I did my companion video to this, which I recorded before I went to go watch it. And I thought, alright, I'm going to go watch Ninja Turtles, and it's going to be just like any of my other staring ats. I'm going to come back, I'm going to collect my thoughts. I'm going to think of a well-written and well-thought-out analysis of the movie's story, the characters, the humor, if it exists, and how it stacks up to the other Ninja Turtles. But then I watched the movie. And I realized, why should I take my painstakingly vectored, posed, and just effort put into them, little pictures of my avatar that I pose around? Why should I add little images to the side that are relevant to what I'm doing? I'm still going to do that anyway, but force a habit. And why should I write a well thought out 8 to 10 minute script saying what I think about this movie, when Michael Bay has taught me, he has shown me the light that you don't need to write to make anything entertaining. You just need to, take your camera, take some rather shit-looking CG assets that look like they're from maybe 2006 at best, take some ugly character designs, and throw Megan Fox at the camera, and some nice explosions, and maybe throw a transformer or two in there. And you make millions. You make millions, and you're guaranteed sequels, and you're guaranteed to just take whatever childhood icon you've thrown your little dart at, and just bend it over and destroy it. Because that's what he did with the Ninja Turtles. I don't care what era of the Ninja Turtles you are more familiar with. If you're more familiar with the Mirage comics, if you're more familiar with the 80s cartoon, if you're more familiar with the 2003 cartoon like I am, or even if you are a wee little babby, if you are a kid or something, or someone that has been growing up over the last 2 years with the 2012 Nickelodeon cartoon. All of that, Michael Bay don't give a shit. He's ruined the childhood of everyone from the 80s to the 2010s. He's ruined everyone's childhood now. He's instead of just taking Transformers, which was, mostly an 80s and 90s thing. Yeah. And shitting all over that. He has spanned decades now. He has spanned 30 years. 30 years of people's childhoods. And he has made a terrible thing that should not exist, and it's not funny, it's not witty, it's not well written, it is not well designed, it is not anything, and it's definitely not a frigging Ninja Turtles movie, which, is, if I was a lawyer, I'd see if I could, get a lawsuit on Michael Bay for all those millions he made off a Ninja Turtles movie, when you don't see the first Ninja Turtle until about maybe 10-15 minutes in. You're 10 to 15 minutes in, and you see the shadow of Raphael's asshole. And that's about it. And then maybe 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, maybe you see the Ninja Turtles, and they meet April. They meet April, who is Megan Fox, who works for the equivalent of Fox News, and only does feel-good stories, and, by the way, apparently appears to be unable to act. But then we all knew that about Megan Fox, didn't we? She can't act. She is not April O'Neil. She is not whatever the fuck character she was playing in Transformers. And I'm under the impression that if she didn't have those big mammary glands on the front, she wouldn't have gotten an acting gig. I don't think. And even then, I think Michael Bay is just like, I need an actor in this fucking Rolodex I can just bring up. Megan Fox, there we go. She called me worse than Hitler, but fuck it. She needs a paycheck. Megan Fox got to eat. So let me get down to to the story. The story. It's this weird bastardization of the 2003 story, which is very close to my heart. That, like, the 2003 story, that is the Ninja Turtles I grew up with. That is the Ninja Turtles. When I think of Ninja Turtles, I think of the 2003 cartoon. And they took that. They bastardized it. There's no Hamato Yoshi. Best I can tell, there's no Oroku Saki. And it is just April's dad was working in a lab with the actual bad guy. The actual bad guy isn't Shredder, by the way. The actual bad guy is not Shredder. Shredder is relegated to the dragon role, as in he is the big bad guy who's like, I'm going to fight things because the actual bad guy's a pussy. But then again, the Ninja Turtles aren't the heroes. April O'Neil, Megan Fox, is the hero. And spoiler territory, by the way. Spoiler, just, if you didn't want to hear spoilers, but you should want to hear spoilers, because if I spoil it for you, you don't have to watch the movie. The Turtles don't kill Shredder. The Turtles don't save the day. April O'Neil saves the day. April O'Neil kills Shredder, and April O'Neil stops the big MacGuffin plot device from detonating and killing everyone in New York City. And Shredder looks like Megatron. Shredder is Megatron. Shredder even makes Megatron's noises. The Turtles, like I said, they look... We've all seen the designs. Everyone has seen the designs. The Turtles look like something that 2006 would have been ashamed of. 2006 would have been ashamed of that CGI. And the worst part is, because it's CGI, and all the action scenes are CGI, they could have held the shots on the Turtles, and they could have actually made the combat look good. But what they actually did is they use more shaky cam than Transformers, if that's possible. And I didn't think it was. And half the time, you can't tell which turtle is which unless it's Donatello. And you can only tell if it's Donatello because Donatello's got that giant fucking backpack on. The giant fucking tech backpack that looks stupid. It looks incredibly stupid. He is Urkel. Donatello is Urkel. That is all I can think of it. All he needed was did I do that? And he would have been Urkel. He even has the big old square frame glasses with tape in the middle and friggin' gap teeth. They turned Donatello, my favorite turtle, so I'm taking this personally here. They turned my favorite turtle into Urkel. That's what they did. They've completely destroyed Donatello as a character. He is completely one note. The entire story, when it is not focusing on April, is focusing on Raph, who is really one of the worst. Like, Raph was pretty one-dimensional to start with, at least in the 03 cartoon. He was always, I'm gonna go punch shit. And that is what he is. That is what he is. Only he's worse because he doesn't actually punch stuff. The Turtles lose more fights than they win. Which is funny because the Turtles are shown very early on to actually be bulletproof. The Turtles cannot be hurt with conventional weapons. Well, that took all the stakes out of it, isn't it? That took all the stakes out of it. So, the Turtles are just chilling around and helping April. And April is saving the day. That is what's happening. And the Foot Clan, if the Foot Clan were ninjas, and they were using ninja weaponry, then, yeah, okay, yeah. Turtles being bulletproof, fine. They can only be hurt by ninja stuff. Fine. I am fine with that. But they don't do that. They turn the Foot Clan into a generic PMC. A generic PMC, which I've freaking had enough of seeing in video games, just generic PMC number 37. And they completely lose the ninja aesthetic, other than they keep the name the Foot Clan. But there's still two ninjas. There's the Shredder, who, like I said, looks like Megatron in a samurai suit and makes Megatron noises. Like, I swear I heard the recycled Transformer noise, the sound effect for when they transform, they go. And Karai is there. In 2003, I don't know if Karai was in the 80s cartoon. I'm assuming she wasn't, because The 80s cartoon had like fucking 17 seasons. No, I'm not watching all of that. But Karai in the 2003 cartoon is Shredder's daughter, adopted by the Utrom Shredder as a child in Japan because she was an orphan, and Shredder took pity and was like, I will raise you to be my perfect soldier, my daughter, loyal only to me. And she was a really cool character. But in this movie, Karai isn't even named. I'm assuming that it's Karai. I am assuming that it is Karai because, one, she's an Asian woman hanging out with the Shredder and she has 2 swords on her back, which was Karai's shtick. Karai used dual katana. She was basically the anti-Leo. Karai does nothing. Karai chases the turtles down a mountain and attacks them in the sewer, even though she doesn't really attack them. She says, oh, I'm going to attack them in the sewer, but then in the actual sewer attack scene, she isn't there. Or if she is, I can't see her because it's so bloody dark. I can't pick her out from the other hundreds of identical foot soldiers. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. The designs are terrible. The camera work is shoddy. And Splinter. Poor Splinter. What I'd almost forgotten about Splinter until now. Splinter is not a father figure. Splinter is not a father figure. Splinter is an asshole. The closest he comes to a father figure is when he is fighting Shredder, and he actively that's one of the only times he calls the turtles his sons. He is introduced, he is made to look like an asshole, then he fights Shredder. That is literally it. Within the first, I understand they were only working with like maybe like an hour and a half and some change, but it's fucking Splinter, Hamato Yoshi, or Hamato Yoshi's pet rat, whatever canon you subscribe to. Splinter is a character that has always been one of the biggest he's the Mr. Miyagi of Ninja Turtles. He is the most wisest character in any thing of Ninja Turtles. But no, here he's an asshole father figure, and he doesn't even know Kung Fu from being by the 80s cartoon. 80s cartoon, Splinter knew Kung Fu because he was Hamato Yoshi. In the 2003 cartoon, he knew karate because, as a rat, he watched his master Hamato Yoshi practice every day for basically every day of his life. So when Splinter got transformed into giant rat man, he basically took everything he had learned from Hamato Yoshi and taught it the turtles, which would explain why he can do ninja stuff. But in this movie, Hamato Yoshi doesn't exist, so there has to be an explanation for why the turtles know Kung Fu. The explanation for why the turtles know Kung Fu? Well, Splinter was sweeping up their shit pit, literally a shit pit, they live in the sewer, so, sweeping up the shit pit, found a book that said, The Art of the Shinobi on it. Like, and it wasn't even like a big book, it was like one of those little, like, books you get for your kids, like, that are into martial arts, like, hey, little Billy, I found this book on shinobis at Books A Million. Why don't you go read it and beat up your brothers with it? Like, and Splinter somehow learns mastery of Kung Fu from that book, and then he teaches that same mastery to the turtles. Well, I say mastery. But, if that might explain why the turtles got their asses kicked so much. See, I'm being unprofessional, just like Michael Bay. I'm burped on camera. Just don't watch this movie. Don't watch this movie. Just don't, alright? I haven't even got into the story. I've been saving the story for absolute last. Okay? And it is appalling. It is appalling. The story... Okay, spoiler. From here on, if you don't want to hear the story, if you don't want to hear the absolute story, because I'm going to go into it, turn off the video now. Just give me a thumbs up, subscribe, pretend I did all my Nozovic stuff, and say, hey, remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe. As always, I'm Nozovic, and we're staring at. Pretend I did that already, because this story, I'm going to get into it, I'm going to get angry, and it's going to be very spoilery. Okay, are they gone? I'm going to assume they're gone. April O'Neil named the turtles when she was a small child. April O'Neil named the turtles when they were a small child. And her dad created them. He created the mutagen. He created the TCRI canisters, which are said to be from space in like one throwaway line, but then in every line after that, April's dad created it. It's like they fucked up the script. It's like they fucked up the script. And that inconsistency remains throughout the entire thing, by the way. The movie is not consistent with Ninja Turtles lore, nor is it consistent with its own lore. So April's dad comes up with the turtles. He gives them the mutagen. He's like, oh my god, this is fucking awesome. We're gonna cure all cancers and shit. But then it turns out that the guy April's dad is working with is a grade A asshole and wants to kill everyone in New York because the Shredder told him to. Even though he is the main bad guy. Even though he's the main bad guy, Shredder's just the dragon. So April's dad goes like, oh no, I ain't letting you do that. So he burns the lab down. He just sets it all on fire, gets killed. April's in the building, by the way. He could have killed April, his only daughter. And April's like, oh shit! So she grabs Splinter, she grabs the turtles, and she runs outside, and she's like, well, I have these small animals that have been exposed to God knows what scientific things. Well, fuck it, in the sewer. And then she forgets about it for not 20, because she must have been like 10, she's 4 years. She must have forgotten about it for at least 15 years. 15, 16, 17 years, enough for the turtles to grow up to be teenagers, and enough for her to still be a youngish reporter kind of deal. So they grow up in the sewers, and and this all happens in flashback, by the way. I'm not doing it. I'm doing chronological order, not the order the movie gives it in. And April becomes a reporter. She works for the equivalency of Fox News and only does human, like, little Billy has cancer. Will you help him get money? Like that, those sort of stories. Like, or little Billy doesn't have cancer, but he got a trampoline. Like that, those sorts of bullshit stories that they just use to fill out the news hour. And there's a Foot Clan. Foot Clan are somehow taking over New York. I mean, does the police not exist? Like the Foot Clan just roll up and the police are like, well, I've got this bribe money here, so... See, but that's never explored. I'm assuming that the police are bribed here. I'm assuming that Bay thought that much ahead and he just never wrote it down. And it's just... There was 3 writers on this, right? There was 3 writers on this. You guys fucked up. You guys fucked up, Ninja Turtles. You guys fucked it up so bad. And just... So April's like, oh, there's Vigilante, and then the Ninja Turtles, they pop in, and like I said, you see the shadow of Raph's asshole as he beats up some Foot Clan. And then April's like, oh my god, there's Vigilantes. And then April basically finds out what the Ninja Turtles are. She finds out what the Ninja Turtles are, and then she leads Shredder right to them. And they get their asses kicked. And Shredder beats the living shit out of Splinter. Splinter is basically dead for the rest of the movie. Splinter's completely gone out the movie until the plot needs him again. And then the main bad guy, his name is Sax. His name is Sax. Basically gives away his entire plan of the turtle and is like, the mutagen that cures the evil toxin we plan to release on New York City is all in your blood, so I'm just going to take all of your blood out. So he does take all of their blood. He takes all of their blood out of their bodies, and they're somehow still alive because Michael Bay never passed high school biology. And so then Raph doesn't get captured. Raph then fights Shredder. He goes with April and this other guy. I'm forgetting his name. He was in the 80s cartoon, but he made absolutely no impact. And he sort of reminds me of Casey Jones. Casey Jones a little bit. Like he's got the same sort of attitude, only he's a bit of a wimp. And so I'm going to call him Casey because I don't know his name. Because I didn't give a fuck and they never mentioned it really until the end. So Casey and April and Raph, they go find where the brothers are, and Raph fights Shredder, and the brothers, who are like completely out of blood, yeah, like tell April, hit the adrenaline. Because, you know, if you're extracting all of the blood from live mutant test subjects, you hook them up to adrenaline just in case. So April pumps them full of adrenaline like, nee. There are cuts directly to her just doing this on the adrenaline button. Like, literally like this. Like, and she's doing her stupid Megan Fox mouth-breathing bullshit. And then the Turtles get up, they get their asses kicked by Shredder. Shredder escapes. And then the movie is all the April O'Neil hour. Because then they slide down a mountain. Turtles do some slidey shit. They blow up some jeeps. And then they somehow beat no, they don't beat a helicopter. They get to New York at the same time as a helicopter. So they went down a mountain, they went through the sewers, and wound up at this building exactly as the bad guy's helicopter, which left about 5 minutes before they left the same place, gets there. And then they fight their way up, and the Turtles are on the roof fighting Shredder, and April O'Neil and Casey go and fight the actual bad guy. So not only does April and Casey beat that guy down and get the mutagen back that would cure the disease, is it a disease or a neurotoxin? It's never quite explained, it's unclear. And they get it back, and then April goes up to the top where the Turtles are getting their asses kicked by Shredder. They're getting a few good punches in, but Shredder's in like freaking giant metal, like Megatron power armor. I'm gonna keep referencing Megatron just to drive the fucking point in, because they did. And I said that they weren't consistent with their own lore, and I've already said why it's inconsistent with Turtle lore, but let me get why they're not consistent with their own lore. So the Turtles, they're ninjas, right? They have to jump from roof to roof. They climbed up this building. Well, they didn't climb up this building. They took the elevator, an elevator made for human beings. So Turtles, they weigh about as much as the average 6'2", because they're actually listed as height as 6'2", 6'2" person, maybe a little bit heavier because of the shells and the muscle. Yeah, so that's all fine. They get in an elevator, I'm sorry I'm snapping into the microphone, I'm trying to think. Average elevator for people can carry four people with, like, up to maybe, what is it, like 300 kilograms is the standard or something larger than that. But the way the Turtles are on the roof, the way they tear into everything, every time they hit something, every time they step on something, it acts like they weigh a ton. Leo catching Donnie as he's thrown by the Shredder, and it's not even like a big throw, it's not even like it's more of like Shredder bats his arm and Donnie goes like skidding a bit. Leo grabs him, and then Leo starts getting pulled. And then Leo grabs a little I-beam, an I-beam, like what people use to hold up fucking skyscrapers. And it breaks. It breaks the I-beam just by Leo grabbing it, as if he weighs that much. And then the rest of the movie treats the Turtles as if they weigh a ton each. And it is absolutely stupid. It goes against everything that has been set up so far. Suddenly the Turtles are on goddamn Jupiter. And I don't know why. Why was that necessary? Why was it necessary? The Turtles have already been proven to be much stronger, so maybe Michael Bay realized at last moment, like, doi, maybe I gotta make them heavier to account for the extra muscle mass. Like, he suddenly had a flashback to biology where muscle weighs more than fat or something. And, yeah. So then they fight Shredder, and they finally get a sword through his power armor. Leo's sword pierces it, doesn't go all the way through, and they're like, well shit, now we're missing a sword, and Shredder's hanging there on the edge of the I-beam, and we're just in a big human chain with April at the bottom. April's like, swing me towards him. And of course they do, because they're Turtles, they have to follow April O'Neil's every whim, because it's her movie, it's April O'Neil the movie. So they swing her, she kicks Leo's sword, somehow the kick of a small woman who likely weighs 100 pounds if she's lucky, somehow manages to get the strength to kick Leo's sword, which was made for Leo's like strength and muscle, so it's a heavy sword, it looks like. Goes clean through Shredder's chest, and Shredder falls to his death. A supposed death. There's like a little like a sequel hook thing where like Shredder is covered in like the TCRI mutagen, and he like does a twitch, like as if they're like, oh guys, in the second movie we're gonna bring in Super Shredder. Guys, you want to watch the second movie, right? This one was so fucking awesome, right? Except, it wasn't. And it's just the worst movie. It is the worst movie. It is completely moronic. And if I had actually sat down and written a script about everything that was wrong about this movie, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you for 24 and a half minutes. I would have been sitting here for the actual runtime of the movie with my little script in hand, and I would have just basically remembered, I would have brought up everything that's wrong, because I know for a fact that I am forgetting some things that are wrong with this movie. This movie doesn't just fail as a Turtles movie. This movie fails as a movie as a whole. The plot is nonsensical. It is literally, I am going to use my prominent tower with my logo all over the poison canister to poison all of New York, and then call up the US government and say, oh my god, there's been a terrorist attack, and only I have the cure. Send me a blank check so I can just make millions and millions of dollars while I cure it. And then Shredder will own New York, apparently. Shredder came all the way from Japan. Got his Megatron power arm, and all he wants to rule is New York City. That's all he wants to rule. Only Manhattan Island. Manhattan Island, just give that to Shredder, paint a giant great foot on the Empire State Building, and we'll be fine. We'll be fine, US government. And it's absolutely nonsensical, because the poison canister, one, is at his building, at the top of his building, has his logo on the poison canister, and he just happened to have the cure at the exact same building, at the exact time it was needed, when this poison kills someone in about 3.5 seconds. So what was he gonna do? Release the bomb with him and Shredder on the building and quickly, snort up some antidote, right, just in time, and then run up to Shredder, make Shredder snort some, and say, hey guys, we have antidote. But everyone in Manhattan is dead. Everyone in Manhattan is dead. So unless you dispense that freaking antidote immediately after you set it loose, then nobody dies, and you don't get your blank check because you've already dispersed the antidote. Where's the sense here? It's nonsensical, it's stupid, it fails every writer's check. Every check that a writer must do to ensure that his story makes sense is failed by this movie. This movie fails every single vetting process that a writer must do to ensure his story makes sense, to ensure that his story isn't absolutely terrible. And I won't be the first to say that Ninja Turtles basically perfected the art of selling out, and I'm fine with the basic Orange Crush glamour shot of Mikey drinking Orange Crush. I'm fine with the Turtles only eating Pizza Hut. I'm fine with that. The Turtles have always been sellouts like that, but it was never to the detriment of the story as a whole. And it's just absolutely criminal what has been done to this movie. This movie could have been good. It could have been good. The only part they actually got right was April fainting when she first meets the Turtles. That is the one constant from every Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that they actually kept. That April faints when she first sees the Turtles. That's it. Nothing else. You could take damn near any other slightly anthropomorphic just combat team, like this fucking Street Sharks or the Biker Mice from Mars, and put them in this movie, and you would have the exact same movie. Nothing would change. Nothing would be different. It would be the same generic piece of shit, terrible movie that I just had to sit through. And if you're watching this and you've sat through this far and listened to everything I've had to say, I implore you, do not go to see this movie if you haven't already. If you had plans to go see this movie, do not go and see this movie. It is absolutely terrible, and I know I'm echoing everything that every other reviewer and analyst and everything else and critic has said over the last week. But for the love of God, do not give Michael Bay money. This movie is already guaranteed a sequel. Do not let this travesty become a trilogy. As always, everyone, I am Nozovix, and we've been staring at Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe, and if you have any movies or TV shows or anything that you want me to analyze or look at, leave those down below. no matter what, even if it is the most terrible thing that you can think of. I will do it. I will do it, because nothing can be worse than this piece of shit I had to sit through.